I'm ranking every hero equipment from worst to best, but this is not just a tier list. I'm also showing you the best synergy and attack strategies for each equipment, so you can destroy more bases. Barbarian Puppets. The worst one is definitely the Barbarian Puppet. The Barbarians die super fast and honestly don't do much, especially when you compare it to the other equipment that's higher on this list. Next up is the Vamp Stash. This one is super niche. It basically only works well for funneling, since it gives the king constant healing to help him stay alive a bit longer. But at higher town halls, the defenses do an insane amount of damage, so this equipment doesn't actually help that much anymore. The Rage Veil is next. This one can really help speed up your funneling, since it gives the king a rage effect, and it also pairs super well with the Giant Gauntlet. When you're in the core of the base and you press the ability, the Rage Veil lets your Giant Gauntlet do even more damage. Talking about the Giant Gauntlet, this one is next. It's the most overhyped equipment. Yes, it can work really well when you are inside the base, because it does a lot of splash damage, but the Rage Veil and Giant Gauntlet are not as good at higher town halls, because the buildings are way stronger. Things like the Monolith or single Infernos hit so hard that you might not even be able to use the Giant Gauntlet the entire time. Overall, it's a good combo at lower town halls since there isn't that much DPS, but I still wouldn't invest a lot of ores into these. The Earthquake Boots. The Earthquake Boots are really good, mainly because they can open up walls no matter the level. It also has a really strong synergy with the Spiky Ball, which I will talk about when we get to it. This works super well with ground armies like Root Riders, but the downside is for air armies like Hydra, it's basically useless, since dragons already fly over the walls. So if you're an air attacker, it's still not worth investing your ores into. Second place is the Snake Bracelet. Last time in my minimum equipment video, I actually underestimated this one. The equipment constantly spawns snakes, so if your king stays alive for a long time, it will spawn a lot of snakes that really help with the funnel. Although snakes can also distract things like the single Infernos and the Monolith, which means your king can stay alive longer. This one has a really good synergy and can work with many equipments. Next, the Spiky Ball, and this one is insanely strong and works in a lot of situations. For example, you can use it to funnel to take out some trash buildings, or you can pair it with the Earthquake Boots in the core. The Spiky Ball does most of the damage and the Earthquake Boots just finish the buildings that are low HP. The Spiky Ball is by far the best equipment for the king. So if I were to invest my ores in king's equipment, I would start with the Spiky Ball. After that, it depends on what kind of player you are. If you're a ground attacker, I would recommend investing into the Earthquake Boots so you can use the Spiky Ball Earthquake Boots combo. But if you're more of an air attacker, I would go with the Snake Bracelet, because that one can really help you out. But personally, I would not invest ores into the other equipment, because later down the road at higher town hall levels, you won't use them anymore, which basically means you wasted a lot of ores. Now it's time for the Archer Queen. Starting with the Archer Puppets, I don't like to spend time on it. It's a really bad piece of equipment, just like the Barbarian Puppet. Next up is the Frozen Arrow. This one is really niche. It can only work well for queen charges to make sure your queen stays alive longer. But if you still want to use it, the best synergy is by far the Invisibility Veil. Next is the Invisibility Veil. This one can be really strong at queen charges, but that's also the con, because that's the only use case and the queen charge isn't meta anymore. Next is the Healer Puppet. The Healer Puppet can work for strategies where you want to use your queen to create a funnel, like using the Giant Arrow to take down air defenses while creating a solid funnel on the side. However, the downside is that if you use this equipment in the core of the base, there's a high chance air mines will take it down. Next is the Giant Arrow, and this one is by far my favorite equipment in the game. It's super versatile. It can work for air attacks to take down air defenses, or you can use it in a Root Rider attack to activate invisibility spell towers. This one works no matter what town hall level you are, and it has a great synergy with the Healer Puppet and the action figure. Next, the Magic Mirror. This one is a really strong piece of equipment for the Archer Queen. You can use it in the core of the base to clone the queens, so she can do a lot of damage while other troops take the damage from the defenses. It can also work well if you use it to funnel in the corner of the base, and this one has a good synergy with the Healer Puppet and the action figure. Speaking of the action figure, this one is by far the best equipment for the Archer Queen. It's basically a better version of the Healer Puppet for funneling. And if you combine it with the magic mirror, it's great, because the giant is taking all the damage, while the furry queens can do a ton of damage. This one can work for strategies like dragons, root riders and super throwers. So if I were to invest my ores, I would start with the giant arrow. It's a very versatile piece of equipment. After that, I would recommend investing into the action figure. So you have the giant arrow action figure synergy and then the magic mirror. And for the rest, I would not invest my ores into them, because at higher town hall levels they are not really meta. One exception: if you don't have the action figure yet, you are allowed to spend your ores on the healer puppet. Moving on to the Minion Prince. Starting off with the noble iron. The reason why this one is the worst is because it's super niche. The only really use case is using it with the angry jelly pad at the start of the attack, so you can snipe certain defenses. But the downside is that it has bad synergy. You miss out on things like the henchman puppet and the dark orb. Next, the meteor staff. This is an average piece of equipment. It can work well with armies like dragons or super dragons to do constant damage, but if everything is already doing damage and taking things down, it basically does nothing. So it's an average piece of equipment, and there are for sure better equipment options for the Minion Prince. The Dark Crown. This one can be usable behind the main army, so it can do a lot of damage, and when it gets bigger it does even more damage and takes less damage. However, the reason why it's not higher is because once a single target inferno locks on, there's no way to save it. Anyways, the best synergy for this one is either the henchman puppet or the dark orb. The Metal Pants. This one reduces the damage the Minion Prince receives, and it can literally tank a seeking air mine. I really like using it with the lava loon because it can fly in with the balloons and act as a tank for your loons. And it's also flexible. It can work with both the dark crown and the dark orb. Next up is the henchman puppets. This one has a lot of use cases. It can reset infernos with the invisibility power, and it can also give you 2 henchmen for extra tanking. It mostly works with air armies like Hydra, dragons and electro dragons, and this one is really flexible in terms of synergy. It can work with almost any equipment, but the dark orb is the best combo. Now the number 1, it's the dark orb. The dark orb is by far the best equipment for the Minion Prince. The fact that it slows down so many defenses at once is insanely strong. And this one is also very flexible. It can be used with pretty much any other equipment. But now let's go to the upgrade priority list for the Minion Prince. I would start with the Dark Orb, secondly the Henchman Puppet, and lastly the Dark Crown. The rest aren't worth investing into. They are either too niche or the situations where they work just aren't meta anymore. Now it's time for the Grand Warden. Lavaloon Puppets. The last place is of course the Lavaloon Puppet. It's just bad and it has no synergy. Next up is the Life Gem. A lot of people don't really understand what it actually does, but it basically gives extra hit points to troops, but the higher the HP of the troop is, the less benefit it gets. So this only works well with troops like Hawk Riders and Balloons, but unfortunately those are not the meta right now. And that's why it's not any higher on this list. Heroic Torch. This piece of equipment can work well with ground troops that cannot break through walls, such as Yetis, P.E.K.K.A.s and Witches, and it has a good synergy with the Eternal Tome and the Rage Gem. But you do need to keep in mind that most of the time you use air troops or root riders, so it does not really matter because they can skip walls anyway. Moving on to the Rage Gem, this one boosts your troops throughout the entire attack. It has great synergy with the Fireball because it helps you get into the base faster, so you are less likely to time fail. However, the big downside is that at higher town hall levels like 15, 16 and 17, you need more healing than rage, since defenses deal so much damage. Because of that, the Rage Gem is often overshadowed by the Healing Tome. And that's also the one that's next, the Healing Tome. This is a really good piece of equipment. It can be useful in armies like Root Riders, Dragons and Yetis. For this one, it works really well in terms of synergy with the Eternal Tome. Next up is the Fireball. The Fireball is by far the most satisfying equipment in the game. And it's also extremely powerful to take out a lot of key defenses at once. Furthermore, this one has a great synergy with the Rage Gem, because this way you do not time fail. But unfortunately, this one does not have the best synergy. Like it does not work with the Eternal Tome and you are forced to use the Rage Gem. Now the Eternal Tome, because it's the best piece of equipment for the Warden. It can work with pretty much every strategy and is crucial to keep your troops alive. The only time it does not work is with the Fireball strategy. and that's the same for the synergy. It works with everything aside from the fireball. And now it's time to talk about the upgrade priority list for the Warden. Obviously, first spend your ores on the Eternal Tome. Second is the Healing Tome for the perfect synergy with the Eternal Tome. Third is the fireball, but the downside is that you need to invest a lot of ores into it to make it useful. And you also need to level the rage gem for the best synergy. And to be honest, for the rest, I would not even invest my ores into them. Now it's time for the last hero, the Royal Champion. Starting off with the Royal Gem, this is just a bad piece of equipment. Do not invest your ores into it and only use it if you are forced to. Next up is the Seeking Shield, and this one is average. It can help funnel the Royal Champion into the base by taking outer defenses, or you can use it to do instant damage to 4 defenses. This is one of those pieces of equipment that can work with almost any other equipment, but the reason it's not higher is because it's basically outclassed by better equipment. Now the Rocket Spear. I know it's controversial to put it this low, but the main part about the Royal Champion is the RC charge. So if you use this one at the beginning, it can mess up your Spirit Fox timing. But it does have some good use cases. You can use it to snipe defenses, or when your RC dies, you can use a revive spell, and then after the revive spell in the core of the base, you pop the ability to snipe even more defenses. Moving on to the Hawk Rider Puppet. This one is a really good piece of equipment. It can help you do a lot of damage, and it acts as a tank for your Royal Champion. It can work well with a Royal Champion charge, or different situations if you do a back-end Royal Champion for some support. For synergy, it's very versatile and can work with both the Electro Boots and the Haste Veil. Next up is the Haste Veil. This one is great for making sure you don't time fail. The reason why I like it so much is because it has great synergy with the Electro Boots for the Royal Champion charge. It allows you to destroy even more defenses, but it can also work as a backhand option to move through the base faster. Frosty Flake. The new Frosty Flake is really strong. It ensures that defenses cannot deal damage for a short moment, which helps you get another Spirit Fox cycle or keep your Royal Champion alive longer. Ultimately, this one works well with either the Electro Boots or the Haste Veil. Number 1 is the Electro Boots. This is the best equipment in the game. With its aura, you can take out those annoying skeleton traps and do a lot of damage to surrounding defenses. But the main reason why it's number 1 is because it's the essence of a Royal Champion charge, and the Royal Champion charge is so OP. But also this one can work with any piece of equipment, however my favorite is the Haste Veil. But now let's talk about the upgrade priority list for the Royal Champion. Obviously you should upgrade the Electro Boots first. Secondly, I would invest my ores into the Haste Veil for that combination. And third, the Frosty Flake because it's really OP. And for the rest, I would recommend to either spend it to the Hawk Puppet or the Rocket Spear because the rest isn't worth it. And I know how you're feeling, you need so many ores to max them all out. But don't worry because here I have the minimum levels for every equipment to be usable.